We're about to go racing though here, ladies and gents. It's the first race of the weekend here at Oulton Park. It's TCR UK. It's coming up in just a moment's time.
Welcome along, everybody, then to Oulton Park as the Oulton Park Island Circuit plays host to rounds 5 and 6 of the 2023 TCR UK Championship. It's been an incredible start to the season so far. 4 races down, 4 different race winners, and I think there's a decent chance we could be adding to that number here today, because we've got a number of drivers who have yet to really show us everything that they're capable of, I think, in 2023, and perhaps today could be their time to shine.
Got to be well up there. You've got to be fit, and all these guys are fit, but who's the fittest?
We shall find out, because 25 minutes of racing is not that far away. The green flag lap underway. Let's take a look, shall we then, at how they're going to line up on the grid for round 5 of the 2023 Championship. Well, after a thrilling qualifying session and a last-ditch effort for Bruce Whitfield, it is the championship leader who lines up on pole position with his Area Motorsport Hyundai teammate alongside him of Alex Lee. Row number 2 then for the first of the Audis. Jack Constable, winner at Croft, starts third. And Chris Smiley looking to really kick-start his 2023 campaign, will be there alongside him. Third row of the grid, another Area Motorsport prepared Hyundai i30N. That's of Adam Shepherd, who had an altercation with a tyre stack in practice yesterday, but has bounced back nicely to qualify 5th ahead of Bradley Kent, who had an altercation with Jack Constable in qualifying earlier on, and then started pretty close together on the grid. Constable's teammate Joe Marshall is next in the second of the Rob Boston Audis. Callum Newsham, though, I fear will be a non-starter. That turbo that blew in qualifying earlier on, likely to count him out of this race. There'll be a gap then, 8th on the grid, behind which will line up Carl Boardley, who won on the road at Croft, only to be penalised for exceeding track limits, and Brad Hutchison, who led briefly in the second race a few weeks ago, will round out the top 10. Then Scott Sumpton in the second Restart Racing Honda. That's the older shade FK7 Civic alongside Jensen Brickley, also a winner in the reverse grid race at Croft last time out. 13th then for debutant Luke Sargent in the car, but Josh Biles pedals almost to a race victory at Snetterton at the season opener. New engine fitted into that car for this weekend with Darren Wilson's trusty old Vauxhall Astra, the company on row 7. Row 8 then for Matthew Wilson, recently married Matthew Wilson, who starts 15th alongside Gary Townsend in his Audi. Then 17th on the grid for Jonathan Beeson in the only VW Golf, but we saw from Isaac Smith last year how well that car can potentially go here at Oulton Park, and he will have Darren Lewis, ex-MX5 and Ginetta racer, for company in his privately run older spec Audi. George Healy, one of the Gen 2 Audis, starts next, 19th on the grid for him, ahead of Rick Kerry, who returns to the championship having made his debut at Snetterton. And at the back of the grid, 2 who had problems earlier on in the weekend. Steve Gales with a big off at Druids in qualifying. Didn't spot actually whether his car was on the grid or not, but Oliver Cotton's definitely was, and will line up at the back after a penalty for an engine change. That's not such good news for them, but good news, Paul, for fans of Callum Newsham. I know Anthony spoke to one of them on the grid earlier on. Callum Newsham is at the end of the pit lane. He is going to take the start, not from the grid, but at least they got that car sorted. That is a Herculean effort.
Yeah, that's a great effort, isn't it? Also, what a great effort was there was all them Southerners with their tops off. Ali Camp actually was in the middle of that, wasn't he? Yeah. Tops off Saturday, eh? But yeah, great effort. It's all we want to see is everyone who can race give it the big one, and Oliver Cotton there. We want to see that car right up there where it belongs with a driver of his calibre. So, yeah, they're all looking like they're ready to go, mate. I'm looking forward to this. Everyone looks a bit nervous.
They do, don't they? The pressure's on. As I said, the start's so important here at Oulton Park. We gain Callum Newsham from the pit lane, but we have lost Steve Gales, it would seem. He did not appear to be there at the back of the grid. The rest of the field in place, though. 25 minutes of racing about to get underway. Round 5 of TCR UK for 2023. The Area Motorsport front row. Who will lead them into Old Hall Corner? Lights go out, away they go. Control the revs, control the wheel spin. It's a good start from Lee, a good start from Smiley as well, who tries to find a gap to the outside. Then in the middle of the Hyundai's Alex Lee. Can he tough it out around the outside? Winfield comes back at him side by side between the teammates through Old Hall Corner. Do they come out the other side? Yes, they do. But who's got the advantage down the avenue through Denton? It's Alex Lee, winner here a year ago, and he hits the front immediately.
Great start, wasn't it, by Alex Lee? And everyone looks like they're just getting through as best they can, and a big sideways. Was that Marshall, or was that... It was Marshall, wasn't it? That was a big sideways. He was lucky to hold on to that, but yeah, we're all go down the inside, gets that done. Lost a couple of places there, but gets one back. This is looking like a typical Oulton Park dogfight.
Carl Bordley here, side by side with Joe Marshall, squeezes across the nose of the Audi and moves through. That is 6th place for Carl Bordley, making good ground from 9th on the grid, as there Brad Hutchison roughs up Bradley Kent. Fair play, Brad Hutchison. That was a bold move, and he gets ahead of the Veloster, which does seem to be struggling a bit here this weekend. Up and over Clay Hill they go. Alex Lee has gone. He's a 2.5 clear, and we're not even at the end of lap 1.
Wow, Alex Lee, probably one of the better drivers I've seen on cold rear tyres. He ain't frightened of getting his foot down and leaning on that left rear around this predominantly right-handed circuit at high speed. Fair play to him. This is looking like a classic, but Kent in the background all over Hutchison, and speaking to them on the grid, that car is badly damaged from qualifying.
Is it really? That's a big, big shame. Across the line they go then. Lee leads officially by 1.3 seconds. Winfield second, Smiley third. Here comes Constable up the inside into Old Hall Corner though. Peach of a move from the Rob Boston Racing driver. And Chris Smiley is back off the podium places. Now Smiley delayed. Adam Shepherd sees an opportunity to get alongside, and he will move his Hyundai through as well. So Chris Smiley, can he come back at him up the inside through Cascades? Fabulous side-by-side racing, and the Honda driver will get back through.
Oh, absolutely stunning stuff. Shepherd not bothered about the gas that isn't in his dampers. The leak on the grid, not great, but look now, Bordley round the outside. That's never going to work at the hairpin. Is he going to lose 2 places? Shepherd keeps his nose in. Brilliant stuff. This is a fantastic, one of the best first laps I've ever seen here at Oulton Park in Tin Tops.
Isaac Smith proved last year the round the outside move at the hairpin works. Did it on 3 different drivers in the second race here a year ago. Darren Lewis in strife at the hairpin. Callum Newsham's car I saw was stationary down at the chicane. Let's hope that Lewis gets going. Newsham's car is out of the way, but Darren's car in the middle of the road. If it stays there, that could result in a safety car. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, Bruce Winfield doing his best to go after Alex Lee here. He was quicker than him in the first sector, but then 2/10 slower in sector 2. Carl Bordley, though, what a drive this has been from 9th on the grid, and he's in the top 6 already.
Took his deals when he could, and he really has cashed in. That was brilliant. Bordley, he really is getting to grips with this now, and this is the time to come good. He's doing so well in the championship that he's really keeping it pinned, and Darren's car is out of the way. Brilliant stuff from the crews here at Oulton.
Lead gap 1.1 seconds, 2/10 faster that time was Bruce Winfield. We've said it through the years often, haven't we, about Bruce? It takes him a couple of laps to get going. He's not the best on cold tyres, but once he's up to speed, he's as quick as anybody, and he is now starting to chase after Alex Lee, as there Bradley Kent peeks to the inside of Joe Marshall, down through Cascades Corner. This, the battle going on for 7th place, and for now, Marshall stays in front.
Look how nervous most of these front cars are. The reason being is they want to have the car understeering as least as possible as Kent gets down the inside. Oh, that was a great move until that protruding wheel. Oh, and 2 off. Townsend and Healer. No.
Oh dear, an Audi car park forms down at the hairpin with the other Audi of Darren Lewis off camera on the left. Townsend continues. Let's see if Healer does. Bradley Kent, meanwhile, completes the manoeuvre on one of the other Audis. Lots of Audis on the grid this weekend. Joe Marshall slips back down into 8th position. Brad Hutchison on the tail of him. And Daryl Wilson is inside the top 10. Fantastic drive this from Daryl in the early stages. Let's see if he can make further progress. Lead gap, though, Paul, definitely coming down. Purple sector 1, personal best sector 2 for Winfield. He's almost with Lee already.
Yeah, not just that, it's a good 2 or 3 tenths. He's catching him by look at 37 now. Winfield has him in the sights. This is going to be a safety car. He's got it fired up. He's going to pull it over, hopefully in time. Yeah, should have loads of time here. Winfield 26.983, fastest lap, and that's by 4/10. This is it. Game on. Boardley down the inside of Shepherd, or is that Shepherd trying to get round the outside of Boardley?
Well, at the line, Shepherd was ahead, so I think he got past him already. Boardley, I think, was ahead of Shepherd last time we saw him. Then Adam got back through. He's got a wheel on the grass into Cascades, though. That is already a tricky corner. It's not made any easier by dipping a wheel onto the green stuff, and really quick car control there from Adam Shepherd to hang on to it. Now they race into the yellow flag zone. No overtaking down at the hairpin, and that is the clear reason why George Heeler's car's still on the edge of the road, and I don't see George at the wheel anymore, so I think we know what's coming.
This could be a safety car. Great to see flags being waved and not reliance on too many. There we go. Safety car is out. That's a yellow, so we've got a competition caution then. So safety car will come out. That will give a lot of the drivers a rest. They've already got the windows open, Andy. That is how hot it is. You never want your windows open in a tin top because the drag just starts getting worse and worse, and the higher speed you go, the slower the car will become at top speed. So not great stuff. So safety car conditions, take a breath, and yeah, we'll see how we get on there. It looked like there maybe have been just a lock-up maybe for one of the two Audis. Don't know if it was Townsend into Heeler or the other way around. So yeah, let's check up on the leaders. But I think Alex Lee, to be fair, that's George Heeler, isn't it? Yeah. So George will be a bit gutted with himself if he has been involved in a bit of locking up fronts.
So, safety car out, 6 minutes gone, 19 still to go. Alex Lee, the race leader, but Winfield, I don't think Winfield wanted this safety car, really. He was getting into a nice little rhythm there, wasn't he? Closing in on Alex Lee ahead. And, of course, it also brings Jack Constable back onto his tail. Smiley 4th, Boardley 5th, Shepherd 6th, 7th for Bradley Kent, 8th Joe Marshall, 9th Brad Hutchison, and 10th Darrell Wilson. I don't think any of those 10 drivers are still in the position from which they started. For all this talk about how you can't overtake at Oulton Park, Paul, we've seen a lot of brilliant side-by-side action already.
Yeah, but you see, you say that, and I'm always with you, but anytime I've been here to watch TCR, there's always loads of overtaking. So what's the rest of the people doing who come here and race and moan about the place? They need to grow up and go back down south. I ain't got anything against Southerners, by the way.
No, I'm sure you haven't. That comes from a touring car winner here at Oulton Park as well, Paul O'Neill, so you know he knows what he's talking about. What do you make then of this dynamic between the area cars at the front of the field? Alex Lee away like a scolded cat initially, Winfield coming back at him. My question is, how have they both been treating their rubber in the early stages of the race? Alex Lee pushing hard on cold tyres, whereas Winfield just seemed to let the car come to him, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think, you know, like you say, Alex Lee is fantastic on cold rears, and really has got fantastic car control. But Bruce is a little bit of a smoother driver, and yeah, you know, a smoother driving style is always going to help your tyres later on in the race. But the problem you have is usually a cold tear. If you go too hard at it, use the curbs too hard, and it's, you know, the track isn't up to temperature, so the tyres go from stone cold to really hot, and they tear quite not easily, but they can tear. Any slick tyre can do that. The problem is that it's quite warm tarmac, so I don't think it will take massive amounts of life out of the tyres, because they didn't look like they were doing anything horrendous to me. But we say that there's a long way to go in this race, but it might just favour the people, like you say, who've gone hard at it in the first few laps. But this is great, isn't it, that Alex Lee is leading, because that's where he deserves to be, in my opinion.
Absolutely. This safety car, of course, also helping the drivers now. They can just cool everything off a little bit, cool those tyres out, bring the tyre temperatures back down again. Coming towards us there, Jensen Brickley, the 246 car, he is out of position, isn't he? Didn't have a great qualifying, started 12th. He has gained one position, but he really wasn't one of those drivers who was making good overtakes in the early stages, and he'll be aiming for that 10th place, because remember, race 2, we take the top 10 finishers and we reverse them to form the grid. So as it stands, we'd have a Darrell Wilson, Brad Hutchison front row. Yes, please. Yeah,
I'd like that. That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? But going back to the off at the hairpin, that is a really strange one, unless we can't see a lot the damage that's on one of the sides of the cars, because there's no reason that can't be pushed out of the way. It may be stuck in gear, or, you know, it might have had a problem on the way into that corner, and that's why there's been a... So it is a lift. It must have really bad damage on that front left. Yeah. So it must be... there is tyre marks down there, so I would say that has been a big lock-up. That car is usually fitted with anti-locking brake system, ABS, for the championship that it's regularly in. So when that system's taken off, it is easy to lock up the brakes, especially if something happens in front of you and you're just shocked and put them on. So not saying that's what happened with George, may have been another problem and there may be a failure of some sort, but I'm sure we'll soon find out. But it's a lift, and that's because it just cannot be moved. And I thought, why is it not being pushed away? But no answer is there.
Carl Boardley, massively impressive here in the early stages. Like I said, up 4 spots from where he started. Carl Boardley's a championship contender, isn't he? I don't think I necessarily expected to be saying that at the start of the season at Snetterton, but the Croft weekend he really announced himself to the world as a contender in this championship. And also the rate at which he's made progress here bodes well for race 2, doesn't it? Because he's going to have more progress to make there. But we know he's good on cold tyres, we know he's bold, he's not afraid to go around the outside if that's the only opportunity that presents itself to him. And it's drivers like that who can make that progress when they're a bit deeper in the field, who tend to do well in this championship. So Carl Boardley, massively impressed with him.
Massively, yeah. I don't know Carl amazingly well, to be honest, and I got to know him a lot more when we did something called Brisker F1 together, where we got a load of tin top drivers and we went and had a little blast round in these old F1 stock cars. He is one of the nicest people you could ever meet. Carl is a proper legend, love him to bits. And I was the one that said to him, when I seen him, I said, why don't you come and have a go at TCR UK? And he said, oh, okay, well, I don't know much about it, tell me more. And I went, they'll be the best cars that you've driven. They are so good to drive, and they're not massively difficult either, and you can tune them to where you want to be. So he's driven a lot of things, but Carl, in my eyes, has driven with the best of them. And this will be a championship that I will tell you now, he will be in the running. The last weekend we go to, he'll be up for the championship. I'll tell you that now. That car's good.
So it's you we've got to thank for Carl Boardley's. But Nicky and Stuart paying you commission for referring drivers to us.
I hope so, mate.
Right then, we are still behind safety car. I think we'll be going green this time, but very quickly we can head down to the pit lane, where I believe DJ's got an update for us. DJ, what have you got?
Cheers, guys. Yeah, down in the pit lane, and unfortunately for 3 of our drivers, their races have ended prematurely. Gary Townsend, one of our drivers, the rear suspension arm looks to have sheared completely on the inside. You can't really see it from this angle, but they took the rear wheel off. And yeah, you could saw it. It's just absolutely sheared in half, which is a huge disaster for him. So his race is over. If they do take this wheel off, you might be able to see it, which would actually be really handy. As you can imagine, it's quite a physical job, these guys, having to get that off. It's quite a disaster. Callum Newsham as well, just while you watched that, he came into the pit lane, and I believe his turbo, again, it's not worked out for him. He dumped a huge puddle of oil just as he got pushed into the garage as well. So his race is done and dusted as well. Bit of a disaster. So again, bit of a disaster on that one. Scott Sumpton as well, also his race over, electrical issues. He's out of gear, and yeah, he can't get it back into gear, so his race also over. Disaster for that one, as the safety car hopefully is on its way back in very, very soon. Yeah, 3 cars out of the race, early doors.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. Sorry, I lost
Back
you
to you,
in
boys.
my ear slightly, Anthony. I thought you'd stopped talking, gone and found some shade to go and sit in. We are ready to go racing again, though. 12 minutes to go, and Alex Lee needs to now make a really good restart. The pressure is on. He knows that Winfield was closing in on him, and now that gap has disappeared completely. Out of Lodge, across the timing line they go. We're racing again here at Oulton Park, and a good restart from Alex Lee. The front of the car bouncing down on the ground as he applies the brakes into Old Hall Corner and finds out exactly how much heat he's been able to retain in those tyres. There goes Darryl Wilson in 10th position, with Jensen Brickley right behind him. That's going to be a battle worth watching, I think. Clean restart, uneventful one for the time being, but Alex Lee with a really, really strong restart to the race there.
If I was the team manager of most of those cars, I would be giving you such a grilling. You should be so much closer than that on the restart. Oh, look at Lee. Did you see Alex Lee just went wide into the hairpin, then trying to get away and make that bolt into the lead? But yeah, that was difficult. A lot of them really just staying well away from the back of everyone else's car. Alex Lee is gone, and this is like the first lap again, isn't it? Bruce Winfield needs to get his head down and crack on, because Jack Constable with his window open there, he ain't going to mess around either.
Yeah, but again, as I said, Bruce Winfield, we see this sometimes from him, takes him a couple of laps, and then he really gets up to speed. Chris Smiley and Carl Boardley both tipping a wheel onto the grass, exiting Knickerbrook Corner there. Both just about getting away with it through the left-hand kink past the water tower. Into Druids they go. Kinde, Audi, Honda, Cupra, the order at the front. And Adam Shepherd on his toes now to try and get that 5th place back away from Carl Boardley. Gets a good exit from Druids. Is he going to try and peek up the inside? Into Lodge, thinks about it, trying to distract Carl Boardley there. Carl Boardley having none of it.
Wow. Shepherd, honestly, Adam Shepherd is just one of the standout tin-top drivers that I commentate on. I absolutely love watching him drive. His enthusiasm, his just not enthusiasm in the personality sense, the enthusiasm he drives the car with is absolutely amazing. He tried to shock Boardley into a mistake then, like you rightly called, and it is just great to see him looking for any move he can. And Boardley is now running wide as he turns into Cascade. This is going to get tight now because Shepherd's got a great run. Look at the dust that they're kicking up. I would not want to be dropping my right rear on there.
And into the hairpin. Shepherd's car always moves around so much under braking, doesn't it? It doesn't look nice to drive, but it's clearly how he enjoys driving a car. Didn't quite get off the corner all that well, though, so Bradley Kent now closing in on him slightly. Lead gap nearly 0.8 of a second at the end of that first lap of racing, but in the first sector on this lap, Bruce Winfield a 1/10.5 quicker than Alex Lee, so he's starting to come back at the race leader again. But 9.5 minutes to go. He's got to get on with this.
Yeah, and watch the cars as they come over the crest and turn left before they go to Druid. If we might not get to see it, but just Alex Lee's car is the most nervous car out there, except for Adam Shepherd's, to be fair. Every time he comes across that crest, I'm just like, what is going on with the rear of his car? It's so nervous that more nervous you can have the car and live with it. The rear just falling around all over the place, the better it is for the front tyres because they don't have as much stress then. Talking about stress, stress levels for Chris Smiley in your picture will be going through the roof because Carl Boardley is coming for you, boss.
And the lead gap is down to 1/4 of a second as well. A purple final sector there for Winfield. So again, you don't know where to look, do you? Leader's nose to tail though, down into Cascades corner. And Bruce Winfield's left himself 8 3/4 minutes to try and find a way past his teammates to become the first double winner of the season. Gets a better exit out of Cascades corner, and Lee might now have to move to the inside to defend. Into the hairpin he goes. He does cover the middle ground, then sort of weaves back over to the racing line, runs a touch deep, but that's all right. Hooks up the late apex and for now stays in front.
Wow. Well, the way that car is set up, look at the exit from Alex Lee. Wow. That was a great exit. Got the steering straight, got the power down. This will be telling now as the cars change direction really quickly through the Knickerbrook chicane. Watch on the exits they go through Clay Hill. That's what's going to keep him ahead, actually. The rear of this car, the lead car, as it comes up and over this crest and goes towards Druid, the rear just looks like it's going to swing round. Watch now. It just looks so much more loose than that car in second place. And I think if he can just hold it at a status quo, he should be okay. But slow speed, hairpin corners on the way in, that's where he's vulnerable. And that's where Bruce Winfield needs to attack.
Alex's car looks a bit softer to me as well than Bruce's, and I think that's helping the change of direction, isn't it, through some of the more technical parts of the circuit. Jensen Brickley past Darrell Wilson. That is significant. That's 10th place, so that's the race 2 pole position slipping away now from Darrell Wilson. And Jensen Brickley could be positioning himself for another good race 2. Is Wilson slowing? I think he might be. The Astra perhaps starting to run into some sort of a problem. Yeah, limps across the line, visibly off pace, and might now lose a few more positions. So Brickley into the top 10, and that could be significant for later on in the day. This, though, the fight for 4th place. Smiley, Boardley, who's very wide again at Cascades, with Adam Shepherd and Brad Kent for company.
Yeah, that's a shame if Darrell has dropped off, because how, I can just see him in the background, how he gets that Astra to where he is, change for the lead!
That's Winfield past Alex Lee. What happened there? I was just about to say the gap was growing again in sector 1. Alex must have made a mistake at the hairpin. Winfield goes through. The pressure finally telling. Now, can he retaliate?
Well, I said he's vulnerable into that hairpin. The first turn of the steering from the point you turn into the apex, he was understeering on the last lap we watched, where the front axle just couldn't keep up with the steering input that Alex was putting in. He obviously put in not enough. The car was going too fast, and Bruce Winfield has thought, Brucey bonus for me, I'm down the inside, lad.
Well, he's got the fastest lap as well, Bruce Winfield, and started from pole. This could be maximum points from the first race of the weekend. And as Paul is quite rightly pointing out, the troubles are not over here for Alex Lee, because now there is the arrival of an Audi. It's Jack Constable right in behind, as Lee's car just seems to be getting away from him.
What is going on with Alex's car? Constable's car looks faster than anything on track, if I'm being honest. Alex cannot get that car turned in. It just looks like it's got too much understeer now. The rear has stopped moving around, and the front is now just got too much going on with it. The steering, the power, it just can't get it down. Constable can see that. He knows he's wounded. He needs to be closer for an attack. Let's see what Alex has got at the hairpin, because he might slow up, and this might give Jack a chance to get down the inside.
Let's see what happens. Hard hard onto the brakes. Constable matched Winfield on that previous lap round, within a couple of hundredths of each other anyway. And so if he can get past Alex Lee, might just have a chance to challenge for a victory here again. Over the hill they go, dropping down into the Hislop chicane. The order stays as it is. In the background, it's still Smiley fourth from Boardley fifth. Shepherd, Kent, Marshall, Hutchison and Brickley the top 10, and that's Matt Wilson off at the hairpin now, heading for a moment there towards the barriers, but thankfully keeps it out of the Armco. He'll have a grill full of grass, that's for sure, but another lucky escape.
Front-wheel drive cars don't power oversteer out hairpins unless they've had a tag, so I would guarantee that was contact if we ever see it.
Who was he battling with? He just got ahead of Luke Sargent, actually, at the end of the previous lap. So those two were scrapping over 12th position, along with a couple of others. Jonathan Beeson in that group too. Down towards Lodge Corner, though, comes the fourth place battle. And Carl Boardley hasn't yet given up hope of getting past Chris Smiley. He's assisting him into Lodge Corner. Come on, Chris, get a move on. I'm faster than you, says Carl. And despite that aggressive entry into the corner, gets off the corner better than the Honda too. Goes from the outside to the inside. Smiley doesn't know which way to go to cover. Is Boardley going to throw it up the inside? No, not quite at Old Hall Corner. This is getting lively.
This is getting lively, and look who's in the mix. 117, Adam Shepherd, with his gasless dampers and his three-wheeled car. He don't care, does he? He's having it, mate. He's having it. So now Boardley, who takes a really weird late entry into Cascades, is putting pressure on himself because now Shepherd is coming back at him, but Smiley will look in his mirror and think, thanks, you keep him at bay, please. Smiley's struggling here on the brakes. Smiley is having a nightmare. That car locking up the front axle into the hairpin.
Yeah, just couldn't quite get the car rotated, could he? Carl Boardley into the back of him. Adam Shepherd almost gave him a love tap too. Brad Kent, by the way, the car behind them, has picked up a 5-second penalty, we assume, for exceeding track limits. And now number 41, Carl Boardley as well. Carl Boardley, 5-second penalty for the Cupra that runs in 5th place at the moment. Now if Chris Smiley, oh, there goes Kent! Brad Kent off at Knickerbrook, into the gravel, into the barriers. Something must have broken on the left front corner of the Veloster, and all of a sudden that 5-second penalty is the least of his worries.
Oh, can't it get any worse for those guys? That's awful. Absolutely terrible. Ugh. But Boardley is battling. I don't know if he's actually seen the penalty that he's been given, which will be flashed on the board as he comes across the line in the next 5 seconds. Shepherd will see it. They'll all see it. They'll see it, but do they know whose car it is? Unless they look at the back window, they won't know.
Well, in a way, that sort of takes the pressure off Smiley, but not really, because Adam Shepherd is in close company as well. So if Boardley does go for a move, Chris is in danger of losing 2 spots, which he can't really afford to do. So at the moment then, Shepherd moves into the top 5 on corrected times, as Bradley Kent's name drops down the leaderboard. That puts Darryl Wilson back into the top 10, by the way, so any problem I thought he might have seems to have resolved itself for the time being.
Boardley ain't going to be happy about this penalty. Obviously, like everybody won't be happy with the penalty, but losing that win at Croft and now having this penalty, he is going to be absolutely fuming. But rules are rules. He's been caught out somewhere. I just hope it's a consistent penalty for everybody involved.
And with still a lap and a half to go, are other people going to fall foul of this as well before the flag? Smiley really struggling to get the car turned into the Hislop chicane there. Yellow flags out at Knickerbrook for Brad Kent's car, as there the leading trio make their way over Clay Hill. Bruce Winfield not exactly scorching away out in front. He's got a 1.3 second buffer over Lee second, and Constable for the time being can't seem to find a way past Alex, can he? Alex there just snatching a break into Druid's corner, but that car, although it's struggling, seems to be quick enough in the key areas of the circuit that Constable isn't able to launch an attack.
Alex Lay is going to have the worst next lap or two of his life. Constable's car is working so well. Window wide open on Constable's car. The only thing that's helping Alex here is he's got great speed on the exit of the corners, and that's not engine power really. That's because Constable is laden with BOP, balance of performance. So he's struggling a bit with his handicap from having such a successful weekend at Croft.
Now they crossed the line there with 1 minute and 38 seconds to go. That means there's time for 2 more laps. Not the best of news for Alex Lee, who needs to be careful about running wide on the exit of Cascades. Carl Boardley's move, by the way, is about to deteriorate ever further because his 5-second penalty's now been converted into a 10-second penalty as Lee drifts wide again at the hairpin, and this time Constable's got the overlap, he's got the inside line, but didn't quite have the acceleration with that compensation weight that Paul was just explaining. He could not get the traction up the hill, and Lee dodges another bullet.
Yeah, Alex is so nervous of the car on the way into the corners with big braking zones. If I was Constable, I would be as close as I could be on the entry to Druids, on the exit of Druids, and just launch a scathing attack down at Lodge. This is going to be brutal. I can't wait for these next couple. Look how close he knows he needs to be right in there. Can he get the speed? Both apexes hit. He's close. He's close enough for me. This is going to be a defending now tactic from Alex Lee. This will be very interesting.
Doesn't cover the inside, but then in fairness, Constable's not really quite close enough. It looked like he got a good exit from Druids, but not quite good enough. The traction off Lodge corner, can that bring the Audi back into play as they make their way up towards the line? On to the final lap of what has been a sensational opening race of the day here at Oulton Park, and it's all about the fight for second. Alex Lee versus Jack Constable. Chris Smiley somehow heroically is keeping Carl Bordley and Adam Shepherd at bay. Bordley, though, remember, with 10 seconds to be added onto his time at the end of the race. Second place gap, though, just creeping up now, Paul.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Just a little bit of a creep on the... Ooh, you've got to be careful of that, Alex. Track limits, people are getting done for it. They're watching. I'd be very, very, very careful about that. I think it could... Oh, it's not over! Oh. He's got to be on the inside, but the power of that Alex Lee car will just drive him away now. Constable's got no chance of catching him going up that hill with that weight in.
Yeah, Alex clearly struggling into the head, but he gets such a good launch off it from that wide entry that it doesn't really seem to cost him a huge amount. Overshoots the chicane, though. Few mistakes creeping into the youngsters driving here, and Jack Constable can sense blood in the water. Out of Knickerbrook they go, up Clay Hill. One more realistic overtaking opportunity to come, and yet again is into that final corner at Lodge. Will he make the move, or will he settle for third position? He's not really the settling kind, Jack Constable. If there's a chance, he'll go for it. Lee snatches the break again into Druids. That will give Constable yet more inspiration to have a pop up the inside, maybe into the last turn. Bruce Winfield's going to claim a second victory of the season, but for second place, it's anyone's guess. Lee covers the inside line. Needs to be careful not to overshoot on the exit of the corner. He has! Constable's on the inside. Drag race to the line. We know the Hyundai's good on the power, but not good enough. It's a win for Winfield. Second for Jack Constable, who will be delighted with that. He finally forced the decisive mistake out of Alex Lee, and it netted him second place. Lee in third. Smiley, what a defensive drive in fourth, ahead of Adam Shepherd on corrected times fifth. Joe Marshall 6th, Brad Hutchison 7th, Brickley 8th, Bordley 9th, and I think, yes, Darrell Wilson will get 10th, and with it provisionally, the race to pole, but he would be hunted down there by Jonathan Beeson right to the end. Well, what a race that was. To think we've got the reverse grid race still to come later on. Paul, your final thoughts before you head down to the podium.
Amazing. Bruce Winfield deserved that. He just put the pressure on, got the pass done, won the race. Excellent stuff for the 37. Alex Lee, all he needed to do was brake. He wasn't even defending, he just needed to brake. I heard the tyre squeal, and then I thought he must have the door open, and that was brilliant stuff from Jack Constable. Jack Constable, you, my man, are looking very good for this championship.
Paul, there, the first race, especially in a track like Oulton Park, can sometimes be the calmer of the two races. Well, if that was the calm one, we're in for a real treat later on this afternoon, as Bruce Winfield becomes the first double winner of the season. His first win in the season opener at Snetton, and a hugely emotional affair. But this one, well, maybe he's starting to get used to winning in TCR competition. He distances himself further away in the championship chase. And Bruce Winfield is the winner of the 5th round of the TCR UK Championship. And looks relieved, I think, at the end of that one, after what was clearly a tough race. What a classy move.
That was a classy move.
The championship leader is in the gravel trap.
Neil sends him off, and it's a kick of dirt on the outside.